Hey everyone, welcome to another video. If you love film or television content, please consider clicking that subscribe button because today we're going to be talking about the new Craig Gillespie film, Dumb Money. So, let's get into it. So this one just premiered out of TIFF really recently and it had some pretty decent reviews. Craig Gillespie, I think, is quite a good filmmaker. I like films like I, Tonya and Cruella. I think he did a great job with both of them. He hasn't really made one, though, that I'm really too keen to re-watch. I'll watch them once, have a good time, and move on. So I was hoping for something a little bit more here with Dumb Money. Obviously, there was a little bit of skepticism because this film covers the whole GameStop stock scenario that happened a few years back. And because of that, you know that this movie is going to be looking at capturing a lot of modern trends in media. And I really hate that a lot of the time. So I was hoping that it wouldn't go too far into that and actually give us a really interesting story. Because I think the way that this all played out in real life was really interesting. And honestly, I was expecting something at least solid, but I think this movie is actually really great. I had a really good time watching this film. It almost tries to capture the vibes of something like The Social Network or Moneyball. Even the score feels a little bit derivative of the Moneyball one in some scenes. I think what really makes this film work is that you just never feel the runtime. It is paced so well. The screenplay, I think, is quite electric and does an excellent job of just capturing the story, giving the audience a really fun time at the cinema with a lot of ups and downs. It's a big roller coaster ride that focuses on a lot of characters. It has a lot of editing. And I think it just really works for this kind of story. It has so much energy to it. Now let's get into the characters. We have Paul Dano as the lead, a fantastic actor. And he just continues that. He's excellent in this role. He just does such an excellent job of making those around him shine while really giving himself some great moments. His character is the most fascinating of them all. The writing, you can clearly tell the most effort has gone into his scenes and the characters that are around him. He really is the central protagonist here. He is so influential to those around him within this story that they're all just there to support him and his arc in a lot of ways. And I honestly think from that perspective, it does really, really work. Those are definitely the highest and strongest points of this film. And honestly, I really did not expect to say this. He does really well playing off Pete Davidson. They are very dynamic and a very hilarious combo at times. Pete Davidson brings a lot of his style of comedy to this film, and I really think it works for the type of character he plays. He's not in it all that much. He's just there for a lot of nice comedic relief and a real poignant moment near the end of the film. I also have to mention Shailene Woodley. I mean, she's not in it too much. She is just playing a simple wife kind of character. But I do think that she does a really great job at this role. Once again, she plays off Paul Dano really well, has some really nice scenes in this. Now, something that I think may be a little bit mixed here, while also being a little bit of a strength at times, is how many characters there are in this. It almost feels like too much at times. The first one that you have is America Ferrera, who plays this nurse who is financially struggling, and she relies on Paul Dano's advice from his Twitch stream or YouTube channel or whatever it is on this scenario. And we're kind of going through that roller coaster with her. You have Talia Ryder, who plays this college girl who is in a ton of student loan debt. You have Anthony Ramos as a GameStop worker. And the film is just following these guys all throughout the entire runtime. Now, with these characters, they are just there for me to really see how much is riding on Paul Dano as this influencer who is holding onto the stock, because so many people are following him and they have a lot of money in this game. They could come out a lot worse for wear if it was bad advice, or they can come out with a ton of money. So there is a lot of tension at times as you really don't know where the stock's going to go. The film does do a really good job of just showing how much of a roller coaster that can be. It shows people that cashed out just at the right moment and those who are still holding on to this day and are losing massively because, as we know, GameStop stock isn't worth a dime anymore. And as I mentioned, that problem I have is that the film focuses too much on too many characters that all provide the same theme in the movie. It makes some arcs just feel a little bit redundant, and it makes the big emotional arcs that the film really wants to highlight minimized a little because we have less time to form a connection with them as an audience. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think it manages to cross the finish line in a really great stride. I do think all the arcs were fun, entertaining, some were devastating. They definitely drew a reaction out of me, and a lot of Paul Dano stuff did as well. But to really focus in and make some of these bigger arcs even more impactful would have been possible if we focused on less characters and had a little bit more time with them, because the film also wants to jump from them really quick. There's a lot of sharp, quick editing, and while it once again helps with keeping the pacing electric and fast, it keeps it moving, it keeps beats going, you never feel bored in this movie. But because of that, we're not spending too much time with characters. You get a little bit of a scene with one, then you move on to the next, and we keep going. But once again, I do think that Craig Gillespie does a really good job of making you care about all of these characters. I do like all their arcs, and some of them did connect with me in many different ways. Now, there's even more characters. The other group of characters are Nick Offerman, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Seth Rogen as these multi-billionaires who were a part of this and just lost a ton of money from this entire situation. I think they all play their parts really well. The film explores Seth Rogen the most out of this group, and he really does a great job in this role. It's not comedic by any means, it's more a serious role for him. And I like that for him. I do think Seth Rogen does have some acting chops, and he gets to show that off here, and it's really nice. But at the end of the day, these characters are really just villains of the story. We don't get too in-depth with a lot of them. We don't really get too much nuance. It's just they're the villains of this story, and they're the ones really holding a lot of people down here, which I'm fine with in this film because that's really what happened. But you can see that there could have been an opportunity to explore a little bit more. Now, these arcs all really do come to a nice, clean focus by the time we hit the third act, and it really embraced everything that it was going for, and it worked. My audience absolutely loved this movie. This movie is a massive crowd pleaser. It just aims to make you laugh, make you feel emotions, make you hate the villains in a very traditional sense. And for what it does a fantastic job of it. I do think out of the Craig Gillespie movies that I've seen, this might be my favorite from his. I could easily see myself rewatching it just because of how exciting and fun it was. It does such a good job of giving you a lot of craziness, a lot of fun, and big laughs at times. But then it also gives you just a lot to connect with. And that is the main crux of it. It's not a real big silly movie. Sure, there are fun, silly scenes, especially laughing at the billionaires and just how disconnected from society they really are. There's a lot of that humor playing into it. But once again, when we're focusing on Paul Dano and all of these characters, it's more about the tension that they have because of how much money that they've invested here and how it could all just go in a second. That roller coaster, you really feel something. And when it wants to go for those big emotional moments, it did hit me. It was like a big gut punch. There were a couple moments like that. And you really can't get that without great characters and great writing, which this has. Now, as I said, this film does focus on trends at times. There is a lot of TikTok in this movie, and I'm honestly not a fan of TikTok in movies. I have never really seen it implemented in a way that I was blown away or impressed by. At best, it's just fine, and at its worst, it's dreadful. And I think that this one is pretty poor. It's kind of cringy. There's a lot of those outdated memes. There's the dancing and just overall stupid stuff, and it throws it all in your face at times in certain aspects of the movie. And I actually think it takes away from the movie at times. It's trying to show off this whole big internet culture and what happened and the whole movement, and I get that. It does have a place in this movie for sure. It'd be weird if you took it all out. But I do think there is a way of presenting it where it's not so cringy and feels like someone who doesn't understand this stuff at all, trying to communicate it to someone who does. Also, let's just talk Oscars, because this has been considered to be maybe an Oscar player. I don't really see it for too many categories. I think the only thing it has a true shot in is maybe screenplay. That it is really its only chance. And even then, I don't really think that this will get nominated. It could, I guess, get editing as well. Once again, I don't really see it. I think it will just stand on its own as a really fun, entertaining movie. I would expect this to maybe pop up at the Golden Globes or something for a couple of nominations, but Oscars, I don't see it. Overall, Dumb Money is a really fun movie. I definitely recommend it to you. I think that there is just so much to enjoy here. The reviews on Letterboxd especially were a little bit lower than what I was expecting for this movie, and I do think it will rise when we get a lot more screenings out there. Remember, this played at the Toronto International Film Festival. You're going to have some pretentious people there, and that's probably led to a lot of these reviews. When you see it, you know that this isn't something that someone who's looking for high art is going to enjoy. It is very silly at times and can be kind of stupid, but I do think it's so fun and just gives you a good time in a theater. I'm going to give Dumb Money a strong 4 out of 5. And yeah, go check it out. I think that this is just going to be such a fun watch for you. So many people in my theater absolutely loved it. I heard nothing but praise on the way out. And I think as a safe pick, you'll probably enjoy it too. And those are my thoughts towards Dumb Money. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.